Philmont, New Mexico is a place quite different from any place in North Carolina. There are many physical differences between Philmont and North Carolina, as well as many differences in backpacking practices. The biggest differences between Philmont and North Carolina are terrain, weather, and altitude. Philmont, located in Cimarron, a small town located in northern New Mexico, is very different from North Carolina, especially when it comes to altitude. The highest peak in North Carolina, which is also the highest peak east of the Mississippi River, is Mount Mitchell, which stands at 6,684 feet at the summit. Base camp at Philmont Scout Ranch stands at 6,700 feet, and the highest peak in Philmont is Baldy Mountain, which stands at 12,441 feet, which is nearly double the height of Mount Mitchell. Along with Philmont's altitude, terrain and elevation are very different. Because of Philmont's unique geography, elevation change can be much greater or much less from peak to peak than the elevation change in North Carolina. On average, our elevation change is going to be much greater than that of a North Carolina backpacking trip. Philmont's weather is also quite different from the weather here in North Carolina. New Mexico is way more arid than North Carolina, especially during the summer. North Carolina, on the other hand, gets high amounts of rain and has a very temperate climate. New Mexico has very low humidity and usually gets the majority of its rainfall during a single part of the year. The camping methods at Philmont are also different than the camping methods we practice while camping in North Carolina. For example, at Philmont, there is a higher emphasis on tent sharing in order to maximize weight efficiency, whereas we might not always share tents while camping in North Carolina. Additionally, hammocks are not allowed at Philmont due to vegetation being less frequent and because hammocks would damage the trees. Unlike North Carolina, our crew will most likely not be allowed to make campfires for cooking or warmth because the surrounding area is at high risk of forest fire during certain parts of the year. Philmont has also had a recent history of forest fires, which can be seen on the Philmont map. Another major difference between North Carolina and Philmont is the wildlife. In North Carolina, the wildlife consists mostly of deer, coyotes, raccoons, possums, and occasionally black bears. Philmont, however, has mountain lions, elk, turkeys, cattle, and an even higher bear activity than North Carolina. Because this wildlife can be very dangerous towards humans, cooking methods at Philmont are very different than they are in North Carolina. For example, all food is cooked in 1 or 2 pots, then distributed to everyone in portions, which creates less waste and creates less dishes to clean later. Additionally, Philmont requires all wastewater to be disposed of in a sump, which filters solid food waste from liquid food waste. The liquid waste is then disposed of in the sump, while the solid waste is packed out as trash. Similar to camping in North Carolina, smellable items will be hung in bear bags to discourage wildlife from entering camps and to keep people safe. When it comes to human waste, you are not allowed to dig cat holes at Philmont. In some areas there are pit toilets, but if there aren't, human waste must be sealed in a human waste container and packed out. The leave no trace principles are very important everywhere you go, but even more so at Philmont, because Philmont is the staple of high adventure for Boy Scouts, and scouting principles should be practiced not just here, but everywhere. We need to take care of the places that we visit, and we need to leave them better than we found them so the next person can come and enjoy them as much as we did. A Philmont trek is not something that should be taken lightly. Crews should be prepared for the rugged terrain and elevation change in advance. Our crew prepared for this by going on monthly backpacking trips to places such as Mount Mitchell, Eno River, and Uwharrie. On these trips, we focused on increasing our mileage, pace, and weight, and we also practiced the Philmont methods. For example, we practiced Philmont's crew method of creating a duty roster where people would be assigned to certain jobs each day. We also practiced having a tarp set up to put all of our crew gear under. At Philmont, we will also have a tarp to put all of our crew gear under, and we will not be keeping any of our crew gear in our tents except for what we need to sleep the night. Another method we practiced was the Philmont cooking methods, and we even simulated using a sump. We drained all the liquid waste from our food waste, and we packed out all of the solid food waste in trash bags. By using these methods and by practicing them, we learned to save time and we all got better at the Philmont method, which we are required to use at Philmont.